Okay, before we start, I think I fixed the mic. Someone can let me know in the comments if it's still staticky and robotic, but I think I fixed it. Let me know. Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And we have the next iteration of Heavenly Conquest, this time versus the transforming RIMURU character. And first off, something that's different is that he actually has a type. He is space. Normally these are type neutral, so they want you to use an Earth team, which makes sense. They're trying to push the Spirit Master meta. But these stages are going to be incredible. This stage is going to be incredibly difficult. So new players, or even like mid-game players, probably are not going to have that much of a good time in here. Maybe it's doable, but you're going to have a lot of things going against you. So first off, again, he's space, so you want to use an Earth team. There is no starting hand. There are some missions, 14 turns, 12 turns, 3 time clear, everyone alive, 400 skill points in 1 turn, all physical, all magic, 1 free-to-play character, and then another 5 alive mission down here. So you're going to have to replay this a couple different times to get this done. As far as what the characters actually do, it is a 2-phase fight. You'll face normal Rimuru first, and then move on to evil Rimuru. Normal Rimuru has 12.5 million HP. You cannot stun him. Guaranteed crit, guaranteed pierce, attack buff, and a defense buff. Element resistance, and then seals your attack, pierce, and crit rate, so you're going to have to rely on synergy and Aegis. Lord's Ambition makes him immune to a lot of debuffs, and then has a couple turns where you cannot nuke him because he's got the absorption skill. Or you can, but he's going to take one of them at least. And then once... let's see. On his ult, he increases his crit and pierce power. Oh, okay. Cool. 12.5 million HP. Once you take out this Rimuru, you move on to evil Rimuru. He's got 20 million HP. Still, you can't stun him. Lowers all of your ult gauges down to 0. I think he heals you. Puts Dread on you. Nullifies status effects, so no Reckoning. Gets rid of all your protection gauge and all your skill points back down to 30. Has a barrier, which really nerfs Reckoning. And ult resistance down, guaranteed crit, pierce, and Aegis now. Binds, and then lowers your resistance to those 3 buffs, so he's going to do more and more damage to you. He heals himself. He recovers his own stat abnormalities, so no Vengeance, and then another nullifying status effects, just in case. So they both have a lot going on. So this is going to require some very specific team builds to try and get this stage done. So good luck. I'm going to try and do a couple different teams. Whether or not they clear the missions is a different story, but there will be timestamps down below. This should be mildly entertaining. Okay, so first team is the Spirit Master team. It is the prominent team being featured, and it's what they kind of want you to use here. So this stage wants us to have 2 separate nukes. One to kill the first Rimuru, and then another one immediately after that to take out evil Rimuru, because the stage is built for, if you don't kill them back to back, your progress is going to be very, very rough. So we've brought the Rimuru, the Velzar, the Jean, the Leon, and then we brought Visions of Coleus Blanc, because I just want that triple ult swap. I don't want to bring anybody else. It'll work just fine. They don't have that much HP where we need, like, Warrior's Mind Blanc or something. But the idea is to nuke once with Leon to kill the first Rimuru, and then the second time to have Rimuru with an EX ult already prepped and halfway buffed. That way when evil Rimuru comes in, we can just send that and we'll end the fight. So turn 1, because it costs 0 stamina, you can just reset for over and over and over again until you get a good hand, which is, triple orb change with Leon. That works. But I do want to get EX ults for Leon and Rimuru as quickly as possible. Rimuru is fairly easy because we can just use his transformation and get the rainbow orbs. Like, that's not a big deal. But we do want to get Leon's ult, because Leon, being the weaker of the 2 nuking characters when Rimuru is transformed, he can pretty easily take out this version of Rimuru right now, the blue one, and then we can leave our evil Rimuru to nuke the other evil Rimuru, because he's got more HP and ours is going to be just inherently stronger. So if we can get the EX ults, and this is why we brought Visions of Coleus Blanc, 1, because we can triple ult swap everybody, and 2, we can hold the weakness strike buff that we're going to get. The synergy down, we're not running a synergy team, so that's not really a factor here. But we can hold on to the weakness strike, we can hold on to Jean's buff at least, and then we can just activate it with Velzard on that turn. It's just that turn 8, turn 6 and 7, this Rimuru has Lord's Ambition, so you can't debuff him. So the ult resistance down stacks from Rimuru, the Aegis down from Velzard, like, those don't really matter until turn 8 when that goes away. But then on turn 8, this Rimuru has the absorption skill, so you have to have an ult ready to send for him to absorb it before your actual Leon nuke comes in and kills him. So there are a number of different things you got to worry about with the stage on when you're nuking and how you're nuking and how much damage you're doing. You really got to do this with 2 separate nuking characters. So the only teams that are going to be viable are teams that have very, very strong nukes. And I don't know if a burst team can do it. Like, I don't know if Warrior's Mind 2.0 like can actually get this stage done. Type neutral, they're built for 1 solid nuke. Like, maybe you can do it, but it's a hard maybe. I have yet to actually try. But we're 4 turns in. We've got an ult. He doesn't hurt that much comparatively, and we do have the heal from the Masked Hero being taken into account. So here we've got 3 ults now, which is fantastic, because now we can just use Blanc's ult swap, and now we have 2 EX ults, which works out very well. It's turn 5. So we'll ult swap, orb change, and we'll use the weakness strike buff now, and then we'll send Rimuru away, because he's ready to go. We don't need him up front anymore, we just need to make sure we have enough points to buff Leon first. So you, bye-bye. And then we'll just send this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This gets us another, this gets us a Jean ult, which continues the trend of having 3 ult orbs, which means we have 3 guaranteed blues. And then turn 6, there we go, Lord's Ambition is in effect. So debuff's not going to be a factor here. If your team is strong enough, it doesn't really matter. That's the thing, is that maybe you don't actually need the debuffs to do 12 million damage or whatever this Rimuru has. And if that's the case, then great. You can nuke a bit early, which we're going to do next turn. So we're going to use this final turn here to continue to stack. We're going to use the buff from Jean now. That way it's already applied. Or, well, we could. But either way, it would be applied, because when we use it next turn, it'll still hit Reaver in the back, because we're not bringing him in. So you didn't have to use it here. We're going to, but it is what it is. So Leon goes away. I guess we're going to hold on to that buff as well. So we're just going to be fine and dandy throughout this entire thing. But we are going to nuke turn 7, which means we're not going to get the Aegis down, we're not going to get the ult resistance down. And depending on how strong your team is, you might need that. So you might actually have to go to turn 8, which is totally fine. But because we can, and we have the power to do so, we're just going to nuke turn 7. So we have 4 ults, technically. 4 EX ults. But we're going to save Rimuru's, so we'll take Blanc out, and then we'll just do a buff, and the ult orb buff kind of skill. So the Frostbite wouldn't really matter here. The Aegis resistance down doesn't matter, but we're activating Aegis rate, which means we get the Aegis power from Jean's skill, and then we can just send this entire hand while getting 1 more stack of the Masked Hero. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Jean does 267k, alright. Leon does 12.6 million, which is enough to one-shot the Rimuru. Cool. And now, on turn 8, Evil Rimuru comes in, and we've got our Rimuru in the back, who just needs to be buffed again. So we'll use Velzard, we'll use Leon again. That way it's activated, and we actually get the synergy down now. But the stacks of ult resistance down don't matter, because they were applied to the other Rimuru. So it's not really that great right now. We already have the weakness buff from Blanc, so we don't need to do that anymore. But I do want to bring her in just for an extra ult, just in case. Let's transform, and then let's use the debuff from him as well. And that's pretty much all we have available. And then we can do 1 more stack of the hero, and it's completely unnecessary because this Rimuru is going to die. But this is what the fight wants you to do: it wants you to kill in roughly 2 turns. right back to back. 52 million, so yeah, more than double his HP. But that is the gimmick of the fight. If you continue and you let the evil Rimuru live past that turn, he would wipe out a full ult gauge bar and lower your protection gauge to 0 and bring your skill points to 30, which means that you're pretty much starting over from scratch. It's not great. So you really, really are trying to nuke back to back. Okay, so the last team was all magic and would definitely use a lot of points. Didn't have a free-to-play unit, though. So we're going back to hell. Divine General does have a free-to-play character, because it kind of needs them. The full Divine General team. Elmezia, the hero, Diablo, Gazel, Raphael, and Blanc. We have 2 very strong single-target nuking characters, so we've ticked that box. We know this team can output incredible amounts of damage given time and effort. So this can probably get the job done. Gazel is type advantage, which I guess is cool, but he is definitely not the focus of our nuke. He's not going to get the dark buff or anything, or the space buff from Raphael, and he's a free-to-play character. He doesn't have an EX ult. But we are going to reset for a while. Hold on. Okay. We reset until we got 5 greens, which took forever, first off, but I wanted to get this. I hate using this team as much as possible, so I'm gonna keep resetting until I get just a great hand. So we could orb change, we could do the green buff, we can use the stack of Raphael here, and that's pretty much what we're gonna do. Is we're gonna go for as long as possible and as much as possible in order to get both the Raphael and Blanc EX ults, and then pick one, because they're going to have pretty much the same equal amount of buffs. And one can nuke this Rimuru, and then the follow-up turn, the other one can nuke the other one. This team is definitely not lacking on skill points once you get to like turn 8, because you've been buffing the greens the entire time with Gazel. It is just going to take literally forever. So excuse me while I cut ahead, because the next like 7 turns are just making green orbs, clicking buttons, and getting stacks of Raphael. So, again, give me a minute. Okay, we're back. At the end of turn 7, the Lord's Ambition is leaving, turn 8 kicks in. This is like when people would want to nuke things. He does have the absorption state, which is fine, because we're not nuking here. We're going to go a little bit further, because we do need the power, and if I wanted to nuke, we would need a follow-up ult, or a first ult, and we don't have that. So, we're going to rewind this turn. Blanc doesn't need to be up here anymore because we've got both their EX ults. She can go away. We're going to rewind here after we use Elmezia to reset Diablo and use his green buff. And then that's just going to give us more and more stacks. And we're pretty much either going to wait out the absorption state, or we're going to get a follow, or like going to get a first ult with Gazel, send that, and then Raphael can nuke on turn 9, and that means Blanc can nuke on turn 10. So let's get some stacks in. Let's use the Pierce buff now, even though we don't really need to. Like, these are misplays. I don't need to hold the buffs, because we're going to make back so many points on the turns that I don't need to. And that just took away 90 points that I could have used for, like, 3 Raphael stacks. So it is what it is. We still get the job done, first and foremost. That's the most important thing. So let's click Raphael's button like 10 times in this turn, and then we can do another orb change with Gazel. We don't need to, but hey, extra points are extra points, and we can't use it on anything else. Doing 29k a hit, the rewind kicks in, and we'll see what kind of orb RNG we get, and it's okay. We got to change 4. We do have an Elmezia to reset though, so we can at least use Gazel a couple of times, and then whatever points we've got left over will again burn into the Raphael stacks, and this is just going to be a whole butt ton of power. We're going to have 40-something stacks of Raphael, so 400% ult damage and 400% synergy power before we even use Diablo. It's going to be quite a bit, so let's just... This is the Divine General team. This is the excitement of the 3rd anniversary, is clicking buttons over and 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 over again. What a time. What a time to be alive, right? Okay. But we have completed turn 8. Alright, cool. Send Gazel last because he's type advantage. He'll do the most damage on the orbs. And then we've got 3 ults to nuke, so we can get rid of his absorption and then have Raphael kick in. So we'll use the Pierce buff again, which is why I said we didn't need to use it in the beginning, because Blanc already has it anyways, and we're going to do it anyways. So synergy buff, dark and space buff, boom. We're actually not going to bring Blanc in for her alt buff, which could be a mistake. If your team is not as strong and you haven't gotten as many stacks, you're probably going to want that alt buff from Blanc as well. But here, we're just going to assume that we can get the job done, and we'll just continue to convert here as much as possible. That way we can make back the points necessary to nuke next turn as well. So orb change, 2 more orb changes, and that's pretty much going to leave us at 0 points. Alright, so we'll send Gazel first, get that out of the way, and then Raphael kicks in. We'll send these 4, we get 461 points back, which is huge. And then Absorbed, Raphael does 12.7 million damage. Perfect. We've got almost 500 points back, which means on turn 10, we have Blanc, who is fairly buffed up now. Like, the only thing she's missing is her own buff. So, I mean, we don't have to do this again, but I do it anyways, because I'm an idiot. So, we'll bring the hero in, and we'll bring Blanc in, who already has everything again, minus her own personal buff. Pierce power again. We're just going to buff up Gazel as well for some excess damage. The dark buff and space buff obviously don't hit Earth Gazel, but hey, it is what it is. And now on turn 10, we can successfully nuke, and we'll also use the Gazel debuff, because, hey, it's extra damage, we got the points for it. And we'll send him first, and then Blanc, and Gazel does 7.7 million, respectable. And then Blanc does 23 million, so she would have one shot with 3 million extra as well. So that's the Divine General team. It literally just takes friggin' forever. And so, yeah, we skipped 7 turns of stacking. Oh, boy. But it can get the job done. I don't know who you would sub out, though. Like, that's the thing. You need 2 single-target nukers, and as we've proven, Gazel with all the buffs, he does not do enough to even nuke the first RIMURU, much less the second. So you're gonna need, like, the full Divine General team for this. Alright, the final team that I have for you today is going to be a stacking Warrior's Mind team with some old units and some new units. We've got the old Protector Velzard, gonna give us extra damage against space. Violet for her debuff and blue orb changing. The new Warrior's Mind 2.0 Gobwa and Blanc for their debuffs and powerful buffs. We've got the free-to-play Misery, because she can change 3 Primal Demon oranges, and we have 4 Primal Demons, so that'll work out pretty well, and she'll be our single alt-swapping character. Guy as the Earth Nuker, and then Blanc as our Dark Nuking character. Guy also having orb changing, so we've got Violet, Rain, and Guy who can change orbs. Gobwa and Blanc are strictly here for damage and buffs, so this team can do it. It's going to take a while, because it's an older team. Well, an older protector, but it can get the job done with patience. Okay, so once again, we are resetting until we get a decent turn 1, and by decent I mean you can convert with any of the characters into a full 6-hand of green or blue. But this team, because the protection skill from Velzard is not that strong, it is just stacking attack with nothing else, means that we're gonna need to take a bit here. We want to get stacks on our 3 primary nukers, which are going to be these 3, Blanc, Gobwa, and Guy. Guy having type advantage means that he'll do extra damage, and then Blanc and Gobwa being dark means that they can get benefits from that massive dark debuff that Blanc has, and they could do probably actually more damage than what Guy would do. So they're going to be pretty critical to nuking down these 2 fairly tanky RIMURUs. It's going to take a hot minute to get there. So we are just going to be stacking. This is not going to be like an 8-turn thing. I do way too much damage and I go way too long in this fight, just as a heads up. But I do that, 1, because I didn't know how much damage we were going to do. And 2, is that if your team is not as powerful, like doesn't have enchantments, doesn't have the dupes or something like that, because, you know, my Guy is EX Unbound, my Violet is skill fused and all that. Like, if you don't have that kind of same power, you're going to have to go a little bit deeper in the fight to guarantee that kill. So that's kind of what I'm playing into, is that we're going further to do more damage, to give people an idea of how far they should go, or at what point are you comfortable nuking without, ending your run because you didn't actually do it, and now you're kind of screwed. So for the first, 10 turns or something, we are stacking. So I'm going to cut forwards a little bit. Like, this is literally just blue stacking right here. The single alt swap for Misery is cool, but it is only a single, so you kind of have to play around with who gets an alt, when, and where. And we have no way to alt rush, unfortunately, so give me a minute. Okay, we are on turn 7, and we are going to get rid of the RIMURU next turn once the Lord's Ambition state is gone. So one more stack. We took Blanc out. She's going to be in the back. We're going to nuke this one with Guy and one other character because he's going to have that absorb state. And thankfully we have Misery to sacrifice her alt to the Lords. So 510 points. Let's buff with Violet. Okay, cool. So they're going to have the crit and the alt resistance down. Now that Lord's Ambition is gone, the debuffs actually matter. We have the Gobwa element and resistance debuffs already active, so that's great. We can use the Pierce now, and then we'll bring Blanc in and use her massive debuff, and then the alt and guaranteed crit from Guy. And so now we've got 3 alts. Just in case we aren't actually strong enough to kill in one shot with Guy, we have at least Blanc and Guy to follow up. Because Misery is going to be absorbed. Blanc does 4.7, and then Guy does 10.3, so that is enough. And then we'll move on to Evil RIMURU, and at this point, we are going to continue stacking. We're going to get nerfed, though, because he's going to delete a lot of the alt gauge, he's going to reduce our skill points and everything, and all of our skills now cost, 65 plus. So, we're not going to be looking very good. You could honestly just sacrifice this turn and not do anything, because you're only making skills more expensive, unless you have a really good hand and you want to get some free alt gauge. But there's the heal, but also reducing the skill points, reducing the alt gauge, reducing the protection gauge. Had I been smart, I would have left Misery up front. That way she would have gotten part of the heal as well. But I didn't realize he was going to do that at the point, because I've never gone past this with the other 2 teams. So I wasn't exactly sure how that was going to work. So if someone is actually low HP, on your first turn with Evil RIMURU, bring him up front. He won't hit them, he'll actually heal them, which is kind of nice. It's kind of gracious of the Evil RIMURU to heal you instead of healing him. But we don't have a lot of skill points. We don't even have enough to convert this Guy hand, because even if I use Blanc's skill, we're not going to be at 100 skill points. So we do just kind of have to burn out a lot of turns to be able to start getting points back, which is kind of crazy to think about. And unfortunately, we don't get very good RNG either. So we're just going to send these blues, gives us 159 points, and so now, depending on what the hand looks like, which is still not great, we don't have a lot of blues, so let's just burn out some greens again and pray that next turn can be okay. But 1, 2, 3, he's got barriers now, so Reckoning is not going to work very well, because he's going to reapply them before he ever gets hit. And he's going to hit. And he's going to continue to hit harder and harder and harder every time he ults, every time he stacks up. And we're still not getting very good RNG, because these orbs hate me. So, let's go 1, 2, 3. Alright, 1, 2, and 3. Cool. Alright, there's a heal for RIMURU. Again, he now binds us, which means that we're locked in. So... Oh no. What happened there? Did he bind last turn? Did he do something else? I can't remember. Anyways, we can now finally get a full hand of blues, which means that we can finally get points back, and we can start stacking in. So now it is just an exercise in getting back up to enough points to actually kill. So we are now on turn 15, which is not great in any way, shape, or form. But we do need... Alright, there's the bind. We do need to build some stuff up. So, unfortunately, I don't have Misery here, so we have a Blanc ult, which, anyway, is cool and everything, but there's nothing we can do about it. So you might as well just convert with Guy, send 5, or you could send Blanc's ult here, that's up to you, and you could just get rid of that. But we do need to get some power. We do need to nuke sometime very soon, otherwise he's going to whittle us down. So, we're going to send 5. We're getting close to an EX ult with Blanc. We're getting close to an ult with Guy. So that's kind of important. We can kind of get an alt here with Gobwa as well. So let's alt swap, orb change, orb change. We can break the barrier, and then we'll bring Gobwa in for Misery. That way she doesn't get killed. And then send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That gets us an alt for Guy, an EX alt for Blanc, I think, or very close to. However, I think he deletes it. Nope, okay, we're good. Okay, so we're actually not at where we want to be quite yet. So Blanc can go away. She's ready to go, essentially. And then we have this orb change hand, this stack, which I probably should have done last turn. And it's getting kind of rough out here. So let's orb change. Let's go ahead and apply the debuffs with Goblet now, because I'm going to nuke on turn 19. We have 3 alts now. And between all that power, I feel like we're going to be off to a pretty good point. So definitely you didn't need to go this far. We did get screwed on like 4 turns in a row with just not having blues once we got into Evil RIMURU phase. So maybe things work out better for you. But this is the end game. So let's do the Violet buff again. Give it to Goblet and Guy. And then we could do the Pierce debuff. And then we'll use the other 2 massive buffs and we'll nuke here. So this is the 3 teams that I found to work. I did not try the Burst Warriors Mine 2.0 team. I don't think that's going to cut it. I didn't try any other teams, so if you did do it with other teams and you did have success, please put it down in the comments. That way other people can see that. But you're going to need a very, very strong, well-built team to do this. So this is not new player friendly. This is not even mid-game player friendly. Long-term players might actually struggle with this too, because they might not have the exact units necessary, or they might not be exactly tanky enough. But Goblet does 13, Guy does 10. So there we go. And we still had an EX Blanc alt waiting in the wings to kill. So there's definitely a lot of extra power that we had here. Maybe we didn't have to go that far, but we did need the alts. So there we go. 3 teams to do it. Again, let me know in the comments if you found anything else that works. But that's it from me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.